In this episode, Go catches Suicune. Hey, this is GatorEX, and let's discuss episode 53 of Pokemon Journeys. Now, of course, with the preview of this one last week, there was a lot of interesting discussion leading up to it, but now we finally get to see the episode for ourselves. So, after there have been some Suicune sightings near a certain lake, the boys are sent off to investigate to see what's going on. And they come across some Pokemon hunters who are intentionally polluting the lake to lure out Suicune, and apparently have been doing that just about every day to continue trying to wear it down. And at this point, when Ash and Go happen to be there, they try to intervene, they try to help out. When Suicune actually shows up, and they get a hold on Suicune, they catch it in some nets and everything. And you know, this was again the part that was shown in the preview, and that led to a lot of discussion. Go figures the best way to get Suicune out of this is to throw a Pokeball and catch it. And even if like it didn't catch it, even if you threw a Pokeball, it goes inside the Pokeball comes back and it bursts out. It's still basically teleporting a Pokemon, you know, out of the nets. But it actually gets the three shakes, and catches it. So Ash tells Go to run off, protect Suicune, and he's gonna hold them there. And again, real interesting. While Go's running to try to protect Suicune, he trips and Suicune comes out of the Pokeball. And of course, Suicune isn't exactly happy. Pretty standoffish, because Suicune is a very natural Pokemon, legendary Pokemon. And it makes sense that it just would have kind of inherent distrust toward people. Again, you know, the whole thing of like, when it comes to this, because there's only one Suicune. When it comes to the legendary beasts, there are only one of each, right? And so when it comes to the whole canon of Pokemon, there's a lot of discussion of, you know, this should be the same one that Ash met in Pokemon Forever. Shouldn't it recognize Ash? Or maybe, I mean, I could forgive that. I mean, I could forgive that it doesn't recognize Ash, but from that, wouldn't it have maybe learned to at least trust 10-year-old kids who want to help out? But regardless, Suicune hops off into a nest where it's being protected by other Pokemon. And Go decides to help out because the Suicune's weak, it's poisoned. And interestingly enough, he brings out some Pokemon that he brought with him, and it's just good to see him having other Pokemon with him other than just Sobble and Cinderace who are there. So he has his Alolan Exeggutor and his Raichu, which are actually a good pair because he leaves Exeggutor and Cinderace to keep guard over Suicune, because Exeggutor can keep watch looking out, and he takes Raichu with him to go gather berries. Again, you know, Pecha berries to help cure Suicune. And, you know, overall it's some nice moments with Go kind of helping out Suicune and kind of trying to bond with it, you know, even gaining the trust of the other Pokemon who are protecting Suicune. And it's just a nice moment. You're kind of seeing Suicune open up a little more to Go. And the hunters catch up with them, and Go is, you know, finding them off. He caught a Drowsy because he wanted to use that against the poison-type Pokemon, which is working pretty well, although the boss has got a Houndoom with him to counter Psychic types for the poison types, so he ends up getting, you know, hurt by that, beat by that. And Ash shows up, and now it's just kind of like back to a full-on brawl for Suicune, and the other people grab Suicune as well. And they get him in a net, and they're like being real brutal to him, beating him down. Like overall, it's a pretty serious episode, I guess. I mean, you know, as serious as Pokemon Journeys can get. But you know, in terms of like the music, in terms of a lot of the subject matter overall, you know, it's just good. It's done well. It's executed well. And so now Suicune, seeing how Go and Ash are fighting for it, it breaks out and decides to fight alongside them. So, you know, overall pretty nice in that they get this cool battle with Suicune battling on their side. And they're able to defeat everyone, freeze them up, send them to Officer Jenny. Overall, nice, very neatly tied up. Pretty good episode overall, I think, in that, like, it's a good, nice standalone episode, very solid. Though at the end, Go is ready to release Suicune, is ready to say, hey, you know, you got your own journey, go ahead, live it. And Suicune, though it comes out of his Pokeball, decides to go back in and stay with him. So that's, if I'm being honest, that's a part that I'm not a fan of. Even though he does, you know, bring it back to the research lab and shows it off. And Suicune runs off at the end. Supposedly, at least what happened is that Go does technically own Suicune. He didn't release it, but Suicune is still running off, just doing whatever it wants. And you know, I guess that makes a little more sense. I would have, again, because with the legendary beast, you know, as we've been discussing this whole week, there is only one of each legendary beast, at least with, you know, in the lore, everything when they were revived by Suicune, stuff like that, or revived by Ho-Oh into Suicune, Entei, Raikou. There's only one of each. And so for him to still technically own it, for it to be running out, I mean, on one hand, if it's out running the world, traveling the world, still doing its thing, but it's technically owned by someone, then I guess that protects anyone else from catching it. But at the same time, me personally, I'm just not a fan of named characters in the show, in the main series, owning mythical or legendary Pokemon. I wasn't really a fan of Meltan with Ash, even though, you know, there are multiple Meltan. I just wasn't a fan of that. Wasn't a fan of, what's his name, Tobias, Diamond Pearl, just all that stuff. I personally don't think that, you know, named characters should have them, you know, outside of the movies in certain cases. And, you know, I suppose, on one hand, right, when we play the games, we play the games as the protagonist, the most important person, and just catch literally every Pokemon. So in a way, it's like, okay, what's the difference between that and Go? Go just, you know, wants to catch every Pokemon. That's kind of been the thing. But, you know, just in the sense of the anime, when you're treating it like this, when you have this lore going on, I think it conflicts with stuff overall. So he was ready to release it. I think it would have been totally fine to release it because, you know, when he caught Suicune to protect it, that was the logical thing to do. I probably would have done the same thing, but, you know, at the end, I personally would have released Suicune if I were living in the Pokemon world, but that's, you know, a whole other thing. But again, you know, Suicune is still out doing whatever it wants, so it's technically like that. And he would have had to catch some legendary Pokemon at some point in order to complete his Pokedex, as, you know, we see he attempted to catch Zapdos. But I guess, you know, in a way it kind of builds more on that he got this. You know, whether he earned it is questionable because, you know, he did it to protect Suicune just in the moment, but they did get to bond overall later, and I did like them being able to bond, but I just think, you know, maybe you could have bonded without completely owning it. But I guess, you know, bit of a rant over. I think it was a good, fine episode, but I'm still kind of bothered by that one detail at the end. I don't hate it. I'm not hating on Go like some people, but I was not a fan of that detail at the end. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Did you enjoy this episode? What do you think of, say, legendary Pokemon and Go with his legendary Pokemon? Again, his goal is to catch Mew, and he wants to catch every Pokemon leading up to Mew. So in terms of what else we'll see for that, because it's not at all realistic in the series to encounter and catch every legendary Pokemon, even if you release them. But I still think that it was good and important to show legendary Pokemon like this. I don't know. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. You can enable notifications by clicking that bell icon. You can also check out my anime channel, linked up there, end card, link in the description as well. Anyway, this has been GatorEX. Have a nice day.